Um, let's move forward to our next thing. Before that, guys, if you've been enjoying this content, we have this content for you all the time, 6 days a week. Support the channel by hitting the follow button, like you haven't done so yet. If you're new to the channel, hit that follow button. Support us, right? If you're watching this later on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. We always have this level of content, and I think and I think this is like the best, the best that we do actually. So yeah, hit us up. Make sure notifications are on so you know I'm going live. Expect for social and chat. For our social media, as soon as I can find the thing, expect for social and chat for our social media. Hit us up on Twitter, Discord, where we have all the conversations, including this one. Be a part of Discord, TikTok, and YouTube. Okay. So let's get started with the next topic. All right. And again, this is the first time you're hearing me say this, obviously, so we don't. This will all be new and shocking to you. All right. The topic 2. The famous black actor Idris Elba is at the center of a debate about nepotism. His daughter Isin, I don't know how to pronounce that, tried out for a role in one of his upcoming movies, but didn't get it. This sparked a conversation about whether nepotism in the black community is a good thing. Some believe that this is an important way that we can build generational wealth. Others feel like this perpetuates an unfair system that has kept black people out of higher circles for centuries. Do you think black nepotism is something to be celebrated? Or is this just as corrosive to us as it is to white society? And shout out to our man GSU Gambit for coming up with this topic. It's a really good one. So yeah, I have lots of thoughts on this one as well. But it's unclear to me, right? Like this is I've never dealt with this specific topic in this specific way. But it seems like if we call out nepotism for some people, I don't see how it's fair to call it for other people, right? But I'm definitely interested in what you all have to say. We'll start with Man Bam.
Nepotism is not black people didn't create the problem of nepotism in the United States. We're we're just living amongst it and doing our best to continue to get by. So I'm in favor of black people giving other black people opportunities whenever possible. Because I think that there's like like it's sort of correction. It's correction for a lot of issues. Like being example would be like being a feminist means you believe that believe in equality of the sexes. Well, I guess the empowerment of women and the equality of the sexes. But that just because you believe that doesn't mean that like the women you encounter in real life are or have equal opportunities. So you could meet a woman. The reason why I still pay for first dates, the reason why I pay the majority of bills in my relationship is because my girlfriend, being a black woman, has for a number of reasons less economic opportunities and is actually more likely to be economically disenfranchised in the world. And because we live in real life, asking her to go 50-50 just because I believe she's believes my equal doesn't that's not helping anybody. That's, if anything, that's just putting her under more stress in her situation. So bringing it back, black people pretending to be these all equals, the true equalizers when it comes to hiring, isn't helping anybody. It's just continuing to further hurt us. Like, black people are living in this world and we need every opportunity to get up as we can.
Thank you. Great.
I think it's kind of absurd to say that you're gonna pay for the date because of the societal standard. I think like when you're dating, it has to be more personal than that. Like I'm paying for like more than 50-50, but because I have more money. But if Jay becomes a doctor and she makes more money than me, it makes no sense for me to keep continuing paying more. So it doesn't matter with the societal thing. So going on that theme, I think there's nothing wrong with nepotism inherently. I think nepotism is only wrong if the person that's appointed is doing a bad job, right? So Donald Trump has a lot of nepotism, hiring his children. If them doing a bad job is what's wrong. If they did a great job, I don't think anyone would be a problem. So in my case, my sister might run for state senator, and I told her, if you get it, hire me as an advisor, and I think I'm gonna do a great job as an advisor for a state senate. But if I did a horrible job, that would be a terrible thing my sister did, right? So the reason Idris Elba is he didn't want his daughter to he didn't give his daughter this job is because he believed that she wasn't the best fit for the job, which I think is a very reasonable thing. He's not saying that if she was an equal fit that he would choose the other woman. Like, he obviously has a preference for his daughter. Now I think him putting his daughter and her not performing is actually a harm, like a net detriment to Black people in society. So it's like, oh, they don't really care about like art. They don't really care about, doing a good thing. They just care about, getting money for their own family. Like I think that's a harmful thing. But I think this actually put him in a good light in this societally, because first of all, she's good. She doesn't need money. I mean, her dad is Idris Elba. She doesn't need this money. And she's going to have ample opportunities for many other things, like he said in the interview at the Breakfast Club. So him saying, I'm doing what's best for the movie, and he has the vision for it, so he knows what's best for it, is a good thing, because he could have saved us from her embarrassing herself. And we've seen movies where actors embarrass themselves. Like, this is a horrible performance. So him doing this could be great for her, because maybe she wasn't ready at that point. She's only 20 years old. She might need more training. A different role is probably better for her in a different movie. And that's not taken away from anything from her or Idris. It just wasn't a good fit. You could be the best actor and still not get that role because of the fit. That's all that matters.
So much. All right, let's go to Pace.
Yeah, this is a topic that I enjoy because I've written several memoirs on intergenerational wealth within the Black community and the lack thereof, which I call the intergenerational reset of the Black community. And when it comes to nepotism is not inherent to generational wealth or intergenerational wealth. The problem with nepotism is that it's a synonym for favoritism. So hiring your kids to work for you is one thing. Hiring them to work for you because they are the best qualified is another thing. So I agree with Idris in this, because if you are trying to better your child, if you're trying to make them become the face of your empire, so to speak, you want them to be the best qualified person. And I think that the problem that we have trying to compare nepotism to generational wealth or intergenerational wealth, which is the preferred term, is when you're doing that, intergenerational wealth is all about leaving something behind for your kids, whether you leave them in a role or groom them to be in a role of leadership within whatever business that you may have, or you're leaving behind some type of knowledge or something behind that will allow them to continue to stay within that same wealth distribution that you had, or exceed it after you've gone. Whereas nepotism is more about you're just picking your favorites to put them where they belong. And that's not necessary in generational wealth creation or in a good workplace.
Thanks so much. All right. Waterkai.
So I would think most people would agree with me. The worst case of Black nepotism was probably the movie After Earth. But I mean,
Oh, someone's gonna bring it up.
Never heard of
if the White House is fine with it, and it's been happening through Hollywood forever and ever, Angelina Jolie, all these different actors, why shouldn't there be Black nepotism? Why shouldn't we be able to keep up with that flow? Now, him making his decision is based on whatever he decided to make it on. I can't even begin to speculate, but if that's what he wanted to do, that's what he wanted to do. But we shouldn't have an issue with Black nepotism. Done.
To be clear, I don't think the decision was made by Idris. It was made by the
Oh,
The
hiring
producer.
manager. Yeah, producer. Yeah,
oh, that,
yeah. So just keep that in mind. It was in the
But they
article.
agreed,
okay.
Prime. That let's not act like he had no hand in what the producer was. They agreed on the decision.
That might be the case. I don't. But
May or
I-
may not. I
Yeah, go.
really don't know the facts of that.
As someone who works in the industry, I can say an actor can say all that they want, but a producer who is putting on the show, probably getting financing money for this, is gonna have, at the end of the day, the last word. So I do believe it is Will Banks' word,
Did you
because
watch the
he's
interview?
a producer. I didn't.
Yeah, Idris Elba literally said that it wasn't, what the chemistry wasn't there from his own mouth, that the chemistry wasn't there.
He may not have
Yeah,
made the
that
decision. I don't know.
exactly. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you can say that the chemistry is not there as an actor, but I mean, you can not have chemistry, and a producer is still gonna hire a bad actor. Like, it
Right,
happens.
absolutely.
But yeah, I think black nepotism is fine. In this field, in a lot of fields, because there isn't, generational black wealth. The people that people look to, like the average person looks to when they talk about generational black wealth, is like the Beyoncés, the Jay-Z's, the Oprahs, like the Will Smiths of the world. Like, they are exceptions, and it's not like the status quo in our community. I think that's what Kai and Bam, that's what you guys are saying, and Dream a little bit too, I think. But yeah, it happens in politics all the time. It's happens in film all the time to, white counterparts. I don't think it's that crazy to say that that's something that needs to happen or should happen.
Thank you. Go to Fanatic, please.
All right. Just addressing one of the things somebody said earlier. The chemistry wasn't there for Amber Heard in Aquaman 2, but they still put her in that movie until Johnny Depp won that lawsuit and proved everything wrong. And they still were going to force her in there until the public had outcry. They still had her there in screenings. They still paid her for that movie, despite her abysmal performance as an actor. Did y'all see what she was doing on that stand?
Yeah, she was doing a horrible job.
Yep.
It's absolutely ridiculous. She couldn't even lie right. She couldn't even make tears happen. It was awful. She's just terrible. And she pooped in his bed. I think nepotism is everywhere. Right? You see it all the time. When you look at the Trumps, obviously you see these things. People don't recognize how many people like how many of our post presidents were people of came from people of power. Like, we had George Bush Sr. and George Bush Jr., right? And George Bush Jr. was an ex-crackhead and didn't really qualify for the job, if you really think about it. Like, look at, I mean, there's just so much history. You look at Hunter Biden and all of his exploits and what he was doing over there in Ukraine and all those kind of things, right? So you see nepotism everywhere you freaking go. What's her name? She's not Cheney's daughter. Is it Cheney's daughter?
Liz Cheney.
Yeah, Liz Cheney.
Liz Cheney. There we
Liz
go.
Cheney is Dick Cheney's daughter.
There we go. Or look at someone like Mitt Romney. That nigga almost became the president. Did you know that his dad was Governor Romney of Michigan, the first state that actually eliminated all of the segregation within housing, right, and passed all that fair housing
I think
stuff?
that's nepotism, just because you had like family.
Well, hold on.
Very-
This is his.
You know what? Never mind. Yeah, that's
when I'm not saying that it's necessarily nepotism, and I hate when people pick apart my words that way because I'm very careful with my words, and I didn't say that it's necessarily. And it seems like you're about to go down that splitting hair retardation that we went through earlier in the conversation. I didn't say it's necessarily, but what we can say it's probably, because these are incredibly difficult fields. And again, when I'm pointing out people like George W. Bush Jr., right, who wasn't particularly qualified, still ascending to the highest level of power in the world, I think it speaks to nepotism. I think everyone here can see that. But what we don't recognize is how frequent Hollywood nepotism is. Almost all of the really, really big names that we know came from people it came from people that were already in that industry. I'm going to name a few for you. Gwyneth Paltrow, Jake Gyllenhaal, Jennifer Aniston, Tori Spelling, Angelina Jolie, and obviously we all know Robert Downey Jr., right? Well, Robert Downey Jr. is one that everyone knows, but most of the time we don't know. Most of the time we don't know how connected these people are. We take these things for granted. Who's the one who did all the movies with Adam Sandler with the weird face? What's her name? Drew Barrymore, right? Another perfect example, right? Where that was some nepotism that got her into some of her positions. Cameron Diaz, right? So we see all of these things all the time, and we just take it for granted that these people are just skillful and earned whatever slots that they got. Very often they did not.
Actually, Charlie Sheen.
And Charlie Sheen, along with Martin Sheen.
There's nothing wrong.
I'm sorry, Emilio Estevez, who is also a Sheen, by the way. I remember Sheen is really an Estevez, so on and so forth. This thing is really, really, really commonplace. So I said all that to say, White nepotism is terrible because it seems like we shouldn't be having those things where people have unearned power, and we see how much generational wealth and like nepotism, like they're pretty comparable in certain ways. But black nepotism is amazing, right? Because every black person in a position of power had to earn it. You're in a competitive field where they're doing everything they can to give your white counterparts every benefit and to dismiss your right or need or accolades, whatever, so that you should be there. So I'm all for black nepotism and I'm all against white nepotism. And let's go.
Okay. All right.
But a step further, I feel that.
Let's go to our friend Jade, please.
I agree with Fanatic. I'm also for black nepotism. I think, and even with this situation, she may not have gotten the role right, but she may have had the upper hand compared to other actors or actresses that auditioned for that role, being that her dad is Idris Elba, having those extra acting lessons, maybe that some people can't afford or get as big as of an actor like Idris Elba to help them. So I think she even had the upper hand just in auditioning, being prepared for this role, and then he just let her know, like, when you go in there, it's just going to be like if you're a fit for it, right? I can't help you in that. I prepared you as much as I can, and this is really going to be if you earn it. So I don't think it's necessarily bad that she didn't get this role. Like it was mentioned before, she'll have other activities or other chances. And like Hatim said before, like he possibly could have saved her from embarrassment. I remember when Will Smith's memoir was coming out, and he was talking about After Earth, and he said that Jaden Smith stopped talking to him for a long time because that movie was so embarrassing for Jaden Smith. The movie did so horribly, and he was so mad at his dad for letting him go through with that movie or something like that. So I think this also could have saved their relationship. And so she should be thankful.
Wow. All right. And
That
last
was not that bad.
last but not least, we have our great friend GSU Gambit, who again came up with this topic. Thank you for joining us, GSU. Nice to see you in the Rastafarian form, I guess. I don't know. Buddy, you can introduce yourself and then give us your opinion.
You're muted.
All right. He's introducing himself as tech savvy,
Muted my
right?
Discord.
He's the
No. I muted my Discord when I joined because y'all were on the other topic. Yeah, I'm GSU Gambit. You should know me. Follow me on Twitter. But yeah, no. So yeah, this topic was interesting to me. I just wanted to see where it would go. Of course, I'm a fan of nepotism. I'm a really big fan of family, friendship, and things like that. I think in some ways it makes the world go round. So I think when I look to my kids and trying to put them into positions of power late in their life and trying to make sure that they have the capability to handle such a position, that's like my life goal, my life dream. So I'm a fan of just like Idris seems to be. It needs to be well deserved, and they need to be in a position where they can do their best work. But yeah, I'm absolutely a fan of it, and I can understand why anyone else would be too.
Wow.
I
Okay.
think. Yeah, go ahead, Brian. You were gonna say something.
Oh well, I guess everyone here was agreeing. I think maybe one person disagreed. I disagree with this completely. I don't.
That's why I sent it to you.
Yeah,
On
of
what
course.
grounds?
Yeah, like I think that if we condemn one, we should condemn the other. And I think people are making like a fundamental mistake here, right? Like, so I don't know what kind of movie this is. So I didn't catch that part. But
Is
let's
it for
say,
Beast?
like what?
I'm assuming it's for Beast, the newest movie he's got coming.
Yeah, it's Beast. The movie is Beast, but he's saying he doesn't know the type of movie.
Yeah,
that
yeah, I
is.
don't
Like an
know.
action.
Yeah,
It
Action
sounds like
thriller.
action,
Kind of.
just from it.
Action thriller. Like it's it's similar to that other African movie. Movie set in Africa where they have those like killer lions.
It's like Jaws with a lion.
Everybody. That's it.
okay.
There we go.
Okay, great. So then that helps out a lot. So then the starring role or the role that she was supposed to play, or whatever. That one probably has to be a black individual, another black female.
Yep.
So
Actually, his child.
yeah. So in that case, right? Like, and again, it didn't seem like I'm not sure about it. Just out of hand any of the decision making. We'll assume that it's the producer who did this. Then it's best to get the person who could fulfill the role, right? Like it's not that when you're talking about this black nepotism that if not for this nepotism, a white person would necessarily be there. You could be taking the spot, whatever that spot might be, from another black person, right? A better qualified individual who's black, trying to make their way up in the world. And then you're stifling them with your dumbass kid, right? And I'm not saying anything about Alba's daughter. I don't know anything about her. But like your dumbass kid being put into place. The thing is with nepotism is that consistently, like eventually, it's not about at all their performance, right? It's not about like, oh, I prepared my child for it to take this role. They're your kid. And so like it cheapens everything. It worsens everything. So no, it's not good when white people do it, right? And I don't think it's necessarily good when black people do it. And I'm done.
You're speaking from an ideal world. And in an ideal world, the best person would have the job. But we're working from a world where that's not been the case for a very long time. And black people have gotten the shortest stick.
That's why we don't have any self-made billionaire. Oh, I'm sorry, any white self.
So now that black people, yeah,
go ahead.
Go ahead. You're making the point.
I'm sorry. No, you were talking. You were talking. Go ahead. Go ahead.
We're at a point where black people finally can have nepotism against a playing field where we have not had that at all. So why shouldn't it be permissible?
Right. I think Prime, here's the deal. When you're trying to compare the two of these things and saying like, well, if it's bad for one, it's bad for the other, again, then that almost implies that the playing field is equal or level when we know that it's not, number one. When you look at almost all of the like self-made billionaires, right? Remember, we always hear the story about how Bill Gates started he became a billionaire by starting Microsoft from his garage and so on and so forth. We don't talk about the fact that his dad was like a lawyer for the Rockefellers. And he went to school with like literally the 1% of the 1%. And his mom was in a crazy position of power and literally sent him to the highest. I mean, his parents sent him to the most elite schools that you could possibly go to. And then after he learned all of his skills, his mother was on the board of IBM and convinced them to actually take on his company. And then he did all that antitrust nonsense in order to get his billions. Or that Jeff Bezos's parents ended up loaning him like $400,000. Or Donald Trump got a small loan of $1 million that he had to pay back with interest.
400 million.
Donald
Trump.
Well,
no, he said
that's what he said.
He said
1 million.
Yeah.
Yes, he said, he was lying. And on top of the fact that he obviously inherited the company directly from his dad, which already had the prestige and the name and so on and so forth, and the startup costs on top of all of the power. And he was already working with a high salary. So we don't have to go into that. Or Ivanka Trump literally getting into one of the higher positions in the freaking country simply because her dad got elected.
And her husband.
Right. And her husband, right? I would be shocked if Barron Trump wasn't that person. Or let's talk about the fact that everybody's darling, Elon Musk and his dad owned diamond mines in freaking Africa where he was exploiting folks and all of that nonsense, right? So, or let's talk about even the really good guys, right? Like Warren Buffett, whose dad was a freaking senator and had influence in finance. When we look at all these people who are incredibly wealthy, not the black ones, when we look at all these people who are incredibly wealthy and we see nepotism is everywhere, I don't know why black people get it in their heads like, no. They're not playing the game fairly. They've rigged the game against us. We know we're not at a level of playing field even to this day, but we should be playing as honestly and fairly as possible. Where the freak does that come from? Wherever it does, it needs to go back.
Yeah, I disagree with the I pretty much back everything Fanatic just said. The big thing I don't care about the specific movie. Like maybe the role did end up going to a black girl who was in a worse financial position that is going to benefit from this. But it's not about this one role. It's about the broader picture. And like T.I., who I'm now learning may or may not potentially be a monster. I don't know. That's his own thing. But he
Wow.
I remember he was talking about like he had took his kids down to the hood. He was showing them where he grew up. He was like, yeah, like he was talking to him. He was like, yeah, I could take y'all down here every day and let y'all experience what it's like to grow up rough. Y'all could have some backbone. Y'all could y'all could really teach y'all some strong values. He said, then why the F did I get money? There's no other reason. He's like, he's like, you can teach kids to have values while also like to be good people and have values while also giving them every opportunity in the world to succeed. I don't have any kids yet, but that would be my absolute goal. I don't care if my kids deserve to succeed. The reason I work is to put them in a position to where they can succeed even if they don't deserve it. that's my goal.
That's
Absolutely.
the goal.
But you can
agree
do
with
that
my
in a
kids
different
fail.
way. You can do that in a different way, right? Like, I don't know, like, I don't know how people are against the idea that, nepotism could be used for a good thing. Like, let's imagine there's two equally qualified candidates for a job, and you have to hire, and one of them is your children. I don't think there's anything wrong with I'm picking my child. But if you know your child is going to be horrible for the job, and you still pick them, I think that's where most people see there's a problem with nepotism.
That's
The
where
reason-
But white people are going to do
They don't
it.
have to be
Right.
equal.
White people are going to do it, but I'm saying, like, if especially in a position of power, right, where this position is affecting thousands of people, and I think black people should be immoral people. Like, okay, fine, white people's not going to be immoral people. Let them be immoral. But us black people, I think it's be like, hey, yeah, my child is really not a good fit. We're not saying that they're not the best. Like, you can still hire your child not being the best, but they're still good, right? But I'm saying, if you know your child is not good at doing this job, you shouldn't hire. And I think
Well,
that
that's
form
putting
of
them in a
agree
position
with
to
that
fail.
because
That's not
how
nepotism.
frequently are white people really
This
terrible at
is
jobs?
bad when they
Hello,
do it.
Ivanka Trump. Right, it is bad when they do it, and since we
Yes.
know it's bad when they do it, and we know that they're gonna do it as they have always done it, I don't understand why we would say, listen,
Because it
they're
affects-
still. I don't know why we would say, listen, they're still rigging the game against us. It's not a level playing field. We're already competing. If you can't have this argument if you believe in white privilege.
Hey,
Let's
Dream,
let's
what's your
just start
favorite-
there. Do
what's
you
your
believe
favorite
in
Tori
white
Spelling
privilege,
movie?
Dream?
Mhm.
Do
I
you
agree
believe in
with,
Do you believe in
what
white privilege,
Prime in this
Dream?
case.
I believe in white privilege, but I do also believe there's privilege in all groups.
Okay, what's black privilege besides girth?
I think we're just seen as cooler. We have a lot of, like, cultural privilege, like having an upper hand.
Does that privilege, does the black privilege translate to better life expectancy, or which one do you think has more value? Let's just ask that question. Which
I think
privilege do you think is more valuable on the average life?
It depends what you value personally. Like, what I value personally, I would take being black better than being white. Me personally.
No, okay, I get that you would rather be black. Are you saying that you are more privileged and the privileges outweigh the black privileges outweigh the white privileges?
I'd say I would prefer black privilege towards white privilege is what I'm saying.
What is black privilege?
Like I said, like
just being socially cool to some people.
You would prefer to be cool than to be.
Yeah, like,
stable?
I think black people can say a lot more than white people. Like, and
so just the ability to say certain things like nigga that white people can't.
Not just that, but like also like being culturally competent as well. Like, I think our privilege as a people is not just like what others give to us; it's what we as a culture learned and know. And so
I love being black. I feel like you're having two different conversations. I love being black, but that has nothing to do with like.
I think
black people benefiting from a privilege is why I love them. Like, no, I just love, like, I think you're having two different conversations.
I think like us being black in black spaces, like, black people have a privilege when they're in black spaces, right? And it's awesome to be in black spaces, correct? So I love being in that position, being black in black spaces. So I would prefer being black in black spaces than being white in any other space. So that's why
we're not. Listen, everybody else can see through that. We're not having that conversation. That's really, really stupid. Let's just move on. Let's move on to I was making a point. I got you. I asked you the question. It was my fault because I thought you would have a reasonable answer, but you showed me that you don't. It's fine. You're entitled to your own opinion, even if it's really, really unfounded and stupid. Okay, so moving past that, I would say that when we know that the field is not equal, we know it's not level, we know it's not fair. I think any people that go into a thing when you're struggling, like life is a struggle, it is a competition. Any person who decides to forego that competition or to concede that competition and instead just say, I'm just going to go ahead and do things that will disadvantage my children, because that's what you're definitely doing in that case. If any person who decides to do that, I think, yeah, you deserve all sorts of negativity and whatever you have coming to you.
So,
I think
hold on.
it's
I wanted
okay.
to I wanted to
Yep.
make a and after that, Gambit, if you want to jump in, but like I wanted to like separate some things, right? There was a difference between giving your kid like a leg up in life in terms of um like education, right? Providing them with resources. Like, okay, you may have gone to some like bum ass like school where it was like literally rotting. We have schools that are fucking dissolving around kids, right? Kids of color, of course. Um, dissolving around because of lack of maintenance, right? Like it's mold, it's falling apart, no resources, right? Um, but somehow you make it out of there, you make it big, right? I would not say to a parent, well, no, you got to send your kid back there, right? They got to make it too. If they can't do it the way you did it, they don't deserve it. No, no. You can give your kid, better schooling. Give them access to like you could send them on trips where they can enrich their minds. You know that you couldn't do right when you had to just stay in your hood the entire time. There's all kinds of things you can do. That it's like the playing field is not even, right? It happens, so people just have more wealth. It's not even, but like I wouldn't say there's anything wrong with that. Like you just it is what it is. Of course, you want the best for your kids. However, nepotism is something more specific than that. Nepotism is giving them like opportunities simply because they're a child, like opportunities within an organization, saying that
Sure.
like you're taking over, right? Like I am Frank Trump, Fred Trump, excuse me. Fred Trump, a competent but extremely racist businessman, right? I have an array of children, and subordinates, right? Instead of picking from the subordinates that have helped my company become what it is, right? I'm going to pick the dumbest kid I have and give him access to my organization. I'm going to set him up, right? So that's setting up your company for failure. The Trump organization isn't the only one who suffered from this, right? Many other organizations have suffered from exactly this. You got subordinates who are there, people who may have helped you build that organization to what it is, right? And rather than naming them as CEO or president or whatever it is, you put your dumbass kid in there. Like, oh, well, they worked in the mailroom for like a summer, so yeah, they know, I guess. Sure, whatever. It's my thought.
Well,
Okay.
that's just doing nepotism bad. That's a different thing.
That's what
Like,
I'm saying.
but
Yes,
I'm saying like,
that's
but
the
I'm,
whole
but
point of
I'm
what I'm
saying like,
saying.
but no,
That's
I'm
what
saying that you don't
nepotism
have to be
is.
qualified.
It will end up there eventually. Even in the
But
first generation, it's fine. Then the second generation is gonna fuck it up. That's how that
Yeah, but
works.
I'm
but
saying that there's a
you just
difference
simply
between
don't do it the second gen.
there's a difference between saying like, oh yeah, like this is gonna have negative long-term effects on my family to put you in this position, but I'm putting you there anyway, and saying that like, oh okay, I'm not gonna allow you to be a f up. Like if I'm gonna put my kids in the best schools, and if they have a 2.7 GPA and they don't qualify to get into their dream school, but I know somebody there, I'm making the call. Like, hey man, can you help me out? My kid can't get in,
Those
but I know
people,
this
those
is
people
gonna be
in
your
jail
opportunity.
right now. Just
Yeah.
FYI.
But
Yeah, those
Bam,
people
I'm
got in
still
jail.
doing
In
it.
jail now.
I'm
I,
still doing it.
No, but
100%.
only
I wanna
only a few of them people, right? Because we know that this has been a scam that's been going on for years. It's just that
Sure.
idiot celebrity retard got caught doing it, and so then she went to jail. But for years, this has been a thing. It has not been a problem.
Sure.
Like they just did a study right now where they said that like there was like over 60% of the white people at Harvard were children
Legacy.
of
Loyalty,
alumni.
legacies,
Like,
yeah.
right. So like
They
this
even
is
have a name for it.
right, nigga. I'm saying, bro. Yeah, any person willing to just yeah, I'm not having this conversation.
Like,
If
No,
you
I
know
wanna-
what's going on, and you
Fanatic,
decide like, nah, it's fine. Like we should just be better people. Yeah, freak out of here.
And
Fanatic,
look, so and if you look at the
Thinking that is
I wanna
widening the wealth gap. Freak
I
out.
want to
think
extend.
that-
I want to extend the olive branch. Fanatic, do you think that, like for
God.
example, let's say there's another black president and he hired his his cousin or whatever, his nephew, to be like on his cabinet for education, and
I
he's
like him
making
more.
laws for education, right? But this is one of the dumbest dudes in the world, and
Yeah, like
he's
Ivanka Trump.
What you guys aren't
Yeah,
understanding.
exactly, and I'm
with
saying
this
like,
argument- no.
hold on,
What
hold
you're they're
Can I finish, please? Can I
incompetent
finish,
people
please?
all around.
I understand, but
all around.
I'm trying to extend an olive branch. Fanatic, this nephew cousin of this next black president making these laws that is actively harming black children around the nation. It's a net
Right.
detriment to black
I
people
don't
and black
care.
society.
I don't care. And
You
here's
don't care.
why. Yeah, and here's why.
Well, that's insane.
Because I got you, and here's why. So when you look at most of these things, again, it's if you have the most retarded, unfounded belief that the world is based on meritocracy, then you're bringing me up and bringing an argument to me of basically, hey, look, man, see, like it's a meritocracy and this guy is cheating and there's a negative impact for it. Or we can look at there and say, again, George W. Bush got into the highest freaking power in the world and literally sent us to war where we were for 20 years, right? You want to start talking about long-term punishing effects, right? That's what nepotism has done, and it's not going anywhere. So until we get to a place where we're at a meritocracy, I think that obviously Black people should be doing the exact same thing. We see the wealth gap is widening, right? We see all of the problems that happen. I don't know why we would sit there and just concede. We are trying to succeed in a very competitive environment and just saying like, no, we should just be better. We should just be nicer. Freak out of here. I don't know what world that is.
So I disagree with you in a different way than everybody else. I don't think when white people do it is bad. I think that they should understand the systemic injustices that can happen if you have an in-group and you're preferential to your in-group, right? And we should understand like the disastrous effects of that over time. But just like I love my kids, John Doe is going to love their kids and is going to want to put their kids in the best situation as well. So I don't see it as particularly evil when white people do it, if it's just out of nepotism. Now, if it's out of racism, that's a completely different thing, right? So I don't see nepotism of any race as inherently bad. Like,
Sure,
like I said,
but I already explained that. Like, the underlying principle of the argument is that, like, already the world has been what it has been. We've seen, like, obviously, all of the systemic injustices and so on and so forth. So very often within these positions of power are people who have been connected to unfair power, right? America was literally built on the backs of slaves, right? Like the economic advances that we've had are all based on slavery, right? So any person who succeeded in such an environment and took advantage of those slaves would therefore be a part of that legacy. So then, that means that any person who would be doing nepotism in that way is doing it on the backs of such slavery. So then that means that the power is unfounded. Whereas for Black people, we've literally had to succeed in the most earnest, hardworking ways, and so because we haven't had those advantages, so they're not the same.
And
I'm not saying that they're the same.
To your point now, Fanatic, this is reparations.
Let Gambit finish.
Yeah, I agree with you that there was power that was, egregious, and through nepotism that financial power or whatever has been passed down. I'm not disagreeing with that. I just don't think the act of nepotism is bad. So I agree that there were people that came to wealth through very nefarious means, but the nepotism that passes on wealth generationally, I don't see that as a negative thing.
Wait, but nepotism and generational wealth are not the identical things, right? Like
no, I agree. But nepotism should generate generational wealth if done correctly. Sure. I agree with you that they're different, for sure. Absolutely. Okay. But what I'm saying is the people who have achieved, have inherited generational wealth, I don't think that's necessarily a negative thing. I think the way it was gained potentially could be negative. But just like you would do the same thing if you were white doing the same thing, I don't see that as inherently negative.
I think it can be. I think that it can be negative in a.
It's not inherently negative.
If we like how we started this conversation off, if we were actually dealing with an ideal world, yes, we would want things to be decided by meritocracy. Like the fact that we're not using meritocracy, like there probably is a bad thing to a degree.
I think we want meritocracy in most places, but I don't see nepotism as bad. If done correctly, right? Like what Dream was saying, if you're giving somebody a position that they're like wholly unqualified for, it's likely they're going to fail. Which that's not a good strategy for your kid, right? So there's bad versions of nepotism for sure.
Well,
but I don't think nepotism in itself is bad.
Sure, like the Hunter Biden situation was a textbook example of bad nepotism. Like if Hunter Biden was doing a good job in Ukraine, whatever, then nobody would bat an eye. Nobody would really care.
No. Nepotism is always bad if the whole goal is if you're like wanting a meritocracy, right? And that's
which America is kind of foundationally built.
But you
on.
can.
We don't do like familial
we claim that.
Well, yeah, we're supposed to be, but yeah, if you look at our
we never are, and that's exactly what the point is. Because we are not, then black people have to do things in order to
But
catch up.
but
Yeah,
Just
you
in
and
the
I
can
same
was-
sense that when we
but you
talk
can
about like discrimination is always bad, right? We say racial
It's not.
discrimination is terrible. However, anytime you do anything like affirmative action, any type of reparations, you're going to have to discriminate within some of those things. And though that type of discrimination, corrective discrimination, is not bad. Corrective nepotism is not necessarily bad, but aside from corrective nepotism, it's going to always be bad. Aside from corrective racial discrimination, it's going to always be bad.
I disagree with that qualification because I think that nepotism can align with meritocracy. For the examples I provided, given that
it wouldn't be nepotism.
then. Yeah.
No,
If it's meritocracy,
I'll give you the example. So to make it super clear, you have two equally qualified candidates, but one is your family member. You choosing that family member is nepotism just because they're your family member and they're qualified, right? Instead of doing a random draw.
Like equal candidates don't actually exist. This is something that only exists in hypothetical.
That's absolutely not
That's
true.
absolutely
I interview people for positions all the fucking time.
And there's differentiation. There's something you could differentiate between those two people.
A lot of time is very, very close.
No,
very close.
I didn't say close.
In instances where it's close, if one of those people came recommended from somebody I know and I feel has good work ethic, I would always choose that person.
Sure. I'm not saying anything wrong with that. I'm just saying that the equal candidate only exists in the hypothetical.
Okay, sure. We can say it's
but that's not my point.
We can say it's really close. Like it doesn't change the argument. We can say it's super duper.
You have 3 local businesses capsules. Do you want to use Google Maps, Yelp, or Yellow Pages?
I don't know.
That's GSU.
The point I wanted. The point I was making is was actually like
local
dang. It was furthering Fanatic's point that like we don't live in a meritocracy. Like, and this is even you can look at our politics today and look at our senators, look at our house members, and you're gonna see a lot of similar last names. You're gonna see some Bushes. You're gonna see some Kennedys. You're gonna see some Adams, and you're gonna see some not really Roosevelts anymore. Like, but not because the bloodline's still there. The last name, may have got changed with the things. But like these are the exact same. These are the exact same last names you still see running through our House, Senate, and state houses. Like these people, this isn't a random change.
But hold on. Aren't those elected positions? No.
Yeah, you can't
Yes,
make
but
elected positions out
what do you think people are elected off of?
Wait, hold on.
Name recognition?
Are you saying that you don't? Of course, we're name recognition. Are you saying that like elected positions can't be influenced by power?
I'm not saying that at all.
Okay, so then if they can, then why is that even why?
No. But what I'm saying is that I don't think that's nepotism. I think that's a different thing because you can't appoint somebody from into an elected position.
But you can fund them and put them in positions.
You can help them a lot. Yes,
and you can use. I'm not sure. I don't know. You can use things like the DNC, right? Like you can use.
You
those
can do
things,
all of
and you can
that.
use your
It still
influence
doesn't
in
mean
those
anything.
things in order to get them to back the person.
Right. Okay.
Whatever.
I thought you ran for. I thought you ran for an election before. It means everything that someone can fund your election, that can connect you to every person related to your
come on.
That's everything to an election.
We also know if you're not a likable candidate at all, or comparatively, right, to the other side, that you're
not necessarily. Look at like Biden. Like, how did Biden get in there?
Because he
when you deal with elections because of the
likable, to be honest.
the mass amount of people
his approval rating. It's like 14%.
That
so
is
it's like any president ever.
Currently, sure.
Because we felt that way about him before.
My black church, we was like, there was like. I was against Biden. At the black church was like, oh, we gotta go with Biden because of Barack Obama. Like they was
the vast majority of people were not feeling Biden. They were voting for Biden. They were only voting for Biden because he was anti-Trump. People were
That's
not
what I said.
And a lot of his backings literally came because of the fact that Obama endorsed him. And if it wasn't for the fact that Obama endorsed him, then he wouldn't have gotten to the position that he's at.
I'm still polling like 80% in the
Let's
black
Pace wanted to jump in, so I'll give Pace a chance.
Oh God, here we go.
Well, firstly, I have to say that this is a first for me, but I actually agree partially with you, Prime, that the idea of nepotism on its own merits is perfectly fine. The problem is when nepotism becomes
niggas do it.
when nepotism allows you to put somebody else who is more qualified just because your kid, you want to put them in a favorable position. I was listening to GSU or Bob Marley, as I like to say now. Um, but I was listening to him, and I'm saying, you know, when we're talking about nepotism, we're talking about intergenerational wealth, and generational wealth is different classes. And I think GSU can agree with me on this point that you can give somebody every possible advantage, your loved ones, which is what we do. We go to work, we force them to get good education, whether they want it or not. We pass down trades to them, we pass down financial advice, financial wisdom. We're trying to prepare them with the best possible information to put them in a favorable position. But when it goes out to the real world, if it's not our own business, now they have to come on their own merit and on recommendation. And sometimes recommendation just isn't enough. You have to be able to prove that you're able to do it. So nepotism, if it's done for the purpose solely of putting somebody who is unqualified in a place where they shouldn't be, that in my view is discrimination, and not racial, but discrimination of just any kind. So
Nobody defines this way. This is such a weird definition.
so
There's
what
no
I'm
point in even entertaining that. Like I would say to the thing that you were saying, Dream, earlier about like what nepotism about like how it's not nepotism if you have equally qualified candidates, right? Like I would say that when if both people are equally qualified and then you just give favoritism in that case, it's not nearly as nepotistic because then it's not so much favoritism, right? There's like yes, there is some
I
part
agree.
of
I agree with that.
yeah, right. There's some part of favoritism, but the favoritism is still within the guise of meritocracy, and so then
Sure,
everybody
yes.
is offended.
I said they can
So
align. Nepotism and meritocracy can align. That's what I was saying.
yeah,
And,
so
and
in
recognizability
those
would come into play there.
but then yeah, and then again, it's not strictly nepotism at that point because there's also meritocracy already at play, right? So then at
Yep,
that point, then yeah,
absolutely.
it probably softened the blow, right? And most people
Yep.
wouldn't be nearly as offended. But anytime you don't have that, anytime you have just strictly nepotism, it's always going to rub people wrong. It feels wrong. It feels unfair, and it is not
Nepotocracy.
feels. Yeah, right. The freak. Yeah, I don't like it. But yeah, like so aside from those cases, which are exceedingly rare, then yeah, I would probably say that most people would say it's bad unless it's black people doing it. Then it's okay.
I don't think those cases are that rare, man.
Wait,
I really don't.
Wait, rare? You don't think there's rare cases of like people's children being particularly qualified in those fields?
Wait. What I was saying was when y'all say that it's rare that two candidates are
That's not
like.
what I said.
No, he was talking about like
that's what
I thought you were talking about
two
it.
I thought you were
it's rare that you'll have two candidates that are like that are
be your
equally
kid.
qualified. Right, that are qualified. Yes, and one of them being your kid.
Oh yeah,
like
for sure. That's right.
At the top level, right? Like your kid is the
Yeah,
absolute
for sure.
most qualified, and there's another person that's absolute most qualified.
Yeah.
and they're equal. That's
I thought
incredibly
you were
rare.
saying that it's rare for nepotism to hire a qualified candidate. I don't think you need to be the most
How
qualified.
did you hear that?
No. That's what I thought. If I didn't,
Okay. Well, I'm glad you corrected it because
okay, so you're saying it isn't rare that somebody who uses nepotism hires their child that is qualified. That's not rare.
Well,
That happens.
qualification is going to be a nebulous thing, but I think would they be the most qualified?
The minimum standard for the job.
No,
right?
no, because that's not what we're talking about. Because if they just meet the minimum standard, but there's somebody who is more qualified, that is by definition nepotism and not meritocracy. It's not about it's not just about meeting the bare minimum. It's about being the most qualified for the position because the position should always be given to the person who is most qualified. Like being reductive to just saying, "Hey, you passed the bar" is enough. Is not it, right? Otherwise, you run into nepotism. Do you understand that?
I understand that, but I'm coming from it. I think it should be morally permissible to, like, let's say somebody isn't most qualified, but they're qualified enough, and you have a good relationship with them, even if it's not nepotism. Let's say you're a good friend. Like, I don't think that's nepotism, right?
That's still nepotism. Yeah,
I mean, it is, but
yes.
like I said, I would be okay with it when black people do it.
It could be relatives or friends.
Okay, if that's okay, then I had a different definition at the top. That was only family. Anyways, I think if you're qualified enough, for me, let's say maybe not the minimum, but let's say you're in the middle, and you're not the most absolute. You don't have this PhD or whatever. I feel like there's almost always going to be somebody more qualified. They just didn't apply or whatever. Let's say
we're obviously only dealing with applicants.
Candidates.
Yeah.
of the candidates, let's say you're not the most qualified, but you're qualified enough. I don't think that's morally wrong to hire that person because you have a better relationship with them. Because they're still going to do a good job at the end of the day. They're not going to do the absolute best job, but that doesn't mean that they can't do a good job. And I think as long as somebody's doing a good job, it's not wrong.
Okay, but my problems with nepotism aren't that like the person is going to do a bad job. My problem with nepotism is that it like literally is fundamentally against the idea of meritocracy, which we all say that we believe in this country.
I think, but it depends what kind of for me, like meritocracy isn't like, oh, the best person gets X. I think
that's the definition of meritocracy. The person most qualified, or the person who does best succeeds by definition.
But I think for me, meritocracy. Or
I don't care about your personal definition of meritocracy. I don't subscribe to proprietary definition. I'm using the way the word is meant, what the actual definition is. I don't care about anything else you're talking about.
Sure. But when I'm thinking of meritocracy, and it could align, I'm not sure. But when I'm thinking,
I just gave you the definition. If it doesn't align, then I don't care.
I don't know if that's the definitive definition.
Google it right now. Look it up. Merriam-Webster.
Sure.
Okay. Look it up. I don't care about your proprietary definition. Move on.
I do. So okay.
I wanted to expand this a little bit.
Because it says government or beholding of power by people selected on the basis of their ability. Which aligns with what I'm going to say.
I'm just going to ignore you. Oh, go ahead.
Because what I was going to say is that definition doesn't mean best person gets X. It says their ability. So good enough. It could be interpreted that way. I'm not saying your interpretation is wrong, Fanatic. I'm saying
your interpretation is wrong. That's what I'm saying. Your interpretation is wrong.
You told me Google it. I Googled it.
Okay. So I want to move past this. I really do.
Dictionary, for sure.
And just clear, dictionary.com says that nepotism is strictly related to family relationships. So if you got another,
if you just Google nepotism, the very first thing that comes up is the practice among those with power or influence favoring relatives or friends, especially by giving them jobs, relatives or friends. Yeah, and if you go to Merriam-Webster's and it just says based on kinship, and kinship does not necessarily mean family. You can have it can also be friends.
But the definition is hold on. The definition why I wanted to expand this because I feel like this is getting boring. It's not just about giving job, right? It's any sort of power because of kinship. And I was going to ask y'all, like, it seems like y'all are saying, hey, for this job role thing, that you'd be more meritocratic, which I think is a good thing. I think I aim for that. But like, what about things that aren't directly related to a job? Like, let's say, Fanatic, you had a cousin that was like, yo, I'm trying to be sick in Street Fighter 6. So you put in connections for them just because you know them to get them something that they otherwise would not have been able to access in the fighting game community. Like I feel like we all have like nepotistic things that we would do. I think when we dumb it down to just the job though, like it makes like, I don't know, it's like a easier conversation, but I feel like all of us in some ways would use our resources or power in certain domains to aid people that are of our kinship.
Yeah, I think because qualifications.
And I don't think it's bad. This the part that I really wanted to talk about.
Yeah, I don't think it's bad because I think that like in real life, what we consider qualifications can kind of become nebulous because the factor in qualification is always going to be trustworthiness. Like which is gonna come from some level of kinship. Like like I'm putting my cousin on not only because they're my cousin and I know them, I want to see them succeed. Well, but because like I have a relationship with my cousin to know that I have an idea of the type of person they are, to know that they're going to put forth their best effort or they're going to, like I have a level of trust in them that I wouldn't have necessarily.
Right.
So even if this stranger can put something on a resume, like that I can read off and say like, wow, this is really good. At the end of the day, I still don't know them enough that like, maybe I could trust this person more, and that outweighs.
Well,
look, that's part of the thing
that I was saying. That like, just like quickly interject to Bam's point that sometimes you hear those stories on the news of like brother-in-law stole X amount of money from person like sister who owned business. Like I think it was I don't know why it's top of mind, but Dane Cook's brother like mismanaged his money for years and years, and that's why he's like doesn't have a career right now. Like I don't know. Sometimes you can't trust your kin. like
I mean,
Blizz.
that's
So
the
But you
old
can trust
saying,
them more than a random
never go to
person. That's the point.
never going to
no,
business with
that's the
family.
opposite of my point.
No. I'm saying that's the point of what they're
There's
saying.
plenty of people
Obviously,
that lose money off agents that they don't know, right? We can enumerate a list of
There you
those
go,
people
both
too,
ways,
right?
kind of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
Yeah.
But but it also comes back down to really in this particular thing, we're talking about meritocracy rather than nepotism. In these instances where people like what GSU was saying, that are not related, that still cause you to lose things. I think that comes down to uh sometimes people get so wowed by, oh, they've got all of these qualifications, but when you go and you check the work history and then you take a look at the qualifications, whether it be the bachelor's degree, the doctor's degree, all of this stuff, and then you go look at the work history, and the work history just isn't there. And some people, they just look at surface level and don't go further beyond. I know you're probably like me, where you interview a lot of people all of the time, and when I when I when I'm interviewing people, I've already looked at their resume and
Yeah.
I've thrown it in the trash can. I don't need to look at it. I just want to speak with them about their work experience, what they've done, and how they can make me more money. And if they don't check, I don't know if you're like me, but most qualifying interviews usually have about 5 or 6 questions that if they're answering it, I check off if they answered this or not, and then I grade them and evaluate it with other people. And that's usually how we do it. But some people, they don't do that. They just get wowed by, oh, this guy's got all of these qualifications and he's done all of this. And he was a broker on the trade zone. But did you see how much money he made when he was a broker? No, he just worked there for 3 months. You're like, oh, he can do it.
Yeah.
And they get engrossed in that and then they fail. And in many cases, nepotism and family relations is very similar to that. But uh, I think for the most part, nepotism and family relations, as it relates to meritocracy, is usually genuine because, again, most of the time they're inheriting what you have left behind for them if it's about work. And if it was done correctly, you will have brought them up in a way that they will be ready to take over that company.
Yeah, I just listen. When you start talking about, I forgot my point. Never mind. Just going. I'm sorry.
Okay, so and I'm sure it'll come back to you. And I want to bring in Jade here too, right? Jade and Wadakai. I want to hear what you guys have to say on these things. But I have seen, well, literally in my life, I've seen nepotism play out, and that my father worked for this company. There was a factory, and they made these certain machinery supplies, and they sent them out, and it was a great a factory that had run for decades, and it was chugging along. The owner was, getting up there in age, wanted to quit, and so he wanted to hand it out to his son, but his son didn't want it, right? So instead, he gave it to his wife, or ex-wife, or whatever the fuck, right? He gave it to her, and she mismanaged the shit out of this thing. She closed down necessary parts of the shop. The quality fell. Profits fell along with it because we just stopped using the factory. Then she sold it to this like this holding firm, this financial, like a BlackRock type, financial firm, and then they started trying to extract all the profits out of it and cutting costs anywhere they can. Profits fell again. Eventually, they closed the factory down. This thing had been going on for decades, perfectly well. But instead of handing it to someone who might have also, can't remember what
She was gonna.
What?
She was gonna take it in divorce though, so he had to.
Maybe, maybe. But
No
yeah,
prenup.
but rather than handing it to someone who had been a part of the company, who cared about it, or hell, just selling it to the workers. That's the thing you can do,
Oh God.
Because like my father, my father was committed to this company. He really wanted to retire at this company. He loved it so much. He loved the work that he was doing there. But no, it all fell apart because of this nepotism. Like, and so you guys are drawing this distinction between good nepotism and bad nepotism. I do not do that ever, because
you just gave a perfect example of bad nepotism.
I think you have
He's
to.
saying it's
though.
all
What?
bad. That's his.
I'm saying
that's
yes.
his-
but
his argument.
I know, but
already explained.
But
So
imagine
already
Prime
explained why
that
it's
he
good,
gave it to
though.
his son who was also working at the company and did a great job. You would have no complaints there.
Yeah, I would
What?
say in response, that was the thing that I was going to say earlier. In response to that story, I actually have a personal story about like nepotism and it like absolutely screwing me and someone else over. So I got sponsored by this company, and like when I you know, they were like sponsoring me because I was a pad player, and they only wanted pad players, and I explained to them that I was like a package deal with like my best friend at the time, and I was like, nope, like we both got to be sponsored. And they were a stick player, and by the time we were done, you know, we're traveling all around the freaking country, everything is looking freaking nice, but I was doing like 99% of the work. And but I had a big name at the time, and so for all those reasons, this person got to go and be included and all that stuff. And as time went on, the team expanded and expanded and expanded and expanded and expanded until finally they got to a point where they said, "Hey, guess what? We're about to reduce the hell out of the team, right?" And so the team is going to go down from a size of 11 to 3 people. I had to decide who the 3 people were going to be that were going to stay on the team. One person was a shoe-in because they were the most winningest person, period. There was no way I was going to do that. There was someone else who was significantly more qualified. And the person who I had insisted on bringing with me at that point was not up to snuff. Point blank, period. So I had to make a decision on who was going to be the person who was going to be sponsored. Hey, Chris G, it's crazy that you're in the conversation right now. Anyway, so there was a third person. Well, now that he knows he's one of the people. There was a third person, and we had to decide who that person was going to be. I had a personal conversation with this individual and said, "Hey, listen, this is my job and my livelihood. Up till now, you have not delivered, and they are talking about cutting folks. So you can cost me my livelihood. There's zero reason for me to even consider you in this position, considering I've given you every opportunity and you have failed me. However, just on the merit of us being the friends that we are and us having the history that we do, I'm like, if you have to tell me you're going to give me you're going to put everything in there." That was absolutely a nepotistic decision because there's 0% this person had delivered, and after being given over a year, I made the decision to go ahead and go with this person because this person meant everything to me. They were like one of my best friends on the freaking planet, and lo and behold, person did literally less than they had done before. Eventually, the sponsorship just completely caved. That was the end of, and I got dropped from that sponsor. It was literally like an income and a salary and just like my livelihood at the time. And so I made that nepotistic decision, and it absolutely ended up screwing me.
Yeah, I still have a controller.
So Prime's absolutely right. There is no good form of nepotism, but we don't live in an ideal world.
How can you say
100%?
Oh, good point. Like family restaurants where you're passing down the family recipe is literally a great example of nepotism where you're only going to hire those people is in your family.
No, because that recipe could benefit humanity.
No,
who gives a fuck about
humanity?
humanity? We're talking about intergenerational
Why do you
wealth.
care?
Why do you care?
Intergenerational empire.
But it's not harming humanity, so it shouldn't matter what it.
Well, it is.
First of all,
if they fail the business, then yeah.
No.
We're talking about businesses, not just recipes and other things.
But I'm saying there's a bunch of family restaurants where they stay in a family. You have a family, a father as a cook. You got daughters that's waitresses, and a mom that's the hostess. And you're doing a good living for yourself. You're benefiting the community around you. They love your restaurant. They keep coming back. That is a good example of nepotism. Let's get rid of the mentality in your mind. There's no such thing as good nepotism.
So there still is no good nepotism because at the
how is that
bottom
a bad
line,
one?
if you were to put your kids along in the application process for any job that person that was going to be filled, why shouldn't they face the same scrutiny?
What?
That is a meritocracy. Everybody faces the same scrutiny.
So you're saying that the family restaurant is they should never exist. Like,
I don't know if that's. I don't know if
that's
that's
really what you're saying.
I didn't say that.
So you're saying there are bad things to exist.
It can still be a family restaurant. I'm saying for the positions that are being held, why shouldn't it be open to anybody that qualifies?
They are, but they're nepotistic in terms of they're gonna be like, nah, I want my family to get this experience.
Small businesses are extremely nepotistic, right?
Because that's what I'm saying.
But it's not necessarily good.
Money for the trust of like external people or even to pay properly sometimes. So like,
Yeah, because I was gonna say
Yeah,
like that. I think it's a
that's-
weird example because my family, like I said, my family does farming. I have no desire to be a farmer, but I'm gonna one day like
exactly.
inherit some farmland because it would be weird to give it to somebody else. It's like my family's history. It's like that would
Legacy.
It's not. You don't have to
like,
give it.
why
Well,
would
I'm talking about just hiring only family, right? Like you don't have to like ownership. You don't have to give it to somebody else. But even in Prime's example, you would be against that, Bam. In Prime's mentality, he's against your family not giving it to the best qualified possible person and only giving it to your family members.
why are you
Because
against it,
great,
bro? You don't believe in me and my family having things?
Well,
Great property, bro. So like,
I haven't heard your One Piece take, so no, I'm not very confident in
Oh
you
yeah,
at all.
Prime is
No,
anti-private property.
but
he doesn't believe in inheritance, right?
No, hold on. Okay, so I think this is complicated. When we're dealing with relationships and how these things should go, what should be handed out to who. I think that especially for a something like that, a tiny business, what are the options, right? Like when your parents or grandparents, whoever it is, right, when they're done, right, we are done with this, we are moving on. What are the options? You could give it to a farmhand, but like these businesses, I don't think
Give
are
it?
something that
You mean sell it?
require like 1 second. Yeah, I was gonna get to that. Obviously, something that requires dedication. And if a person doesn't have dedication to that organization, it's gonna fall apart. So it doesn't matter whether they are more qualified or not, right? So something that and I think this actually is a qualification, right? If you care enough about your family's farm to actually keep it running where other people wouldn't, well, that is a qualification, right? Like that's something in your favor. But beyond that, the other thing is yes, is to sell it. That a lot of times people are like, if they didn't have you as an option, oh, they're just going to sell it. So if the organization wasn't going to exist, either not going to exist or like go in the hands of a relative, then I mean, sure, fine, whatever.
Yeah, I don't think that's an example of nepotism though, because in that case, when you have them do that, in many cases where children are uninterested in doing the family business, at the end of the day, when the parents get ready to retire and they have that discussion, okay, well, should we just get ready to sell it and go on vacation and retire? If the kids aren't interested, they have to do what's best for them, what's best for the family, and then the family gets that pool of money that they sold. That would be considered nepotism by giving that money in the family one way or the other. And that would be intergenerational wealth in that
That
in
wouldn't
that
be
manner.
nepotism. That would just be generational wealth. Wouldn't it? Like
Yeah.
giving
Some of
money
these,
to your children. I don't want because that's not nepotism.
That's not
Like
nepotism.
yeah.
Would it be an example of good nepotism if like I was applying for a job and I had a good relationship with someone I used to work with and I know the person who's hiring me also had a good relationship with the person I used to work with. So I don't have a relationship with the recruiter necessarily, but a former boss has a great relationship with them.
But then
And
does it work for
I
you?
yeah,
meet the
that's
qualifications.
just favoritism.
that'll be nepotism. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
But would that be an example of good nepotism? Because I think
Yeah,
that
for
would
sure.
Yeah. It could be
But
based
that's
I
on
think
connections. I feel like
nepotism
connections is a
overall.
good thing.
Technically, it's not, but that's not. I'll tell you
It's
why that
not
would not be.
nepotism.
It's not nepotism because again, it's not you're giving favor because of any sort of kinship.
But
You're
you
only
guys
giving
said kinship, I thought.
right,
Yes,
Yeah.
but that's not why you're giving the
family.
person. But right, no,
Kinship
kinship can
doesn't
be friends
necessarily
too.
mean
But
family.
it can be friends too. But it's not. But you're not giving the person the job because of the fact that they're your friends or your family. You're giving that person a job because you've had an experience with them and know them to be good at the job, and so therefore you're giving you're giving weight to that advantage. So then even that would still be some form of meritocracy. Now there could be some bias that makes you say that this person was good for the job, whatever. But no matter what, if you're going off of an application, you don't know for sure that the other person is going to be good for the job. All you can do is speculate. Whereas with the other person, you have a personal experience that says this person is good for the job. And if that's the thing that's motivating you, this person is good for the job, then it wouldn't be nepotism.
I think I would agree with you on that. That if you can take an honest look, that just necessarily picking up a family member, and I think someone else said this previously, maybe it was Dream, I'm not sure. But just necessarily like picking a family member isn't nepotism if they actually are like qualified. They do happen to be the best person for the job. You do have a lot of evidence that they are great. But that's not being nepotism. So
I don't know.
what you?
If I say, hey, Prime, my son is pretty damn dope on panels.
Okay.
You should have him on.
Okay.
So you have him on. I feel like I don't know. Maybe it's not. But I feel kind of close to Jade.
Is that why she's
Yeah.
here? Dreams nepotism.
Wait, no, but that is nepotism.
It's literally why she's here.
That's what she was saying, right? So imagine there's a hiring manager, and she said there's a person at the company that the hiring manager knows. That person at the company used to work with her, and that person influences the hiring manager, saying, "Hey, Jade is actually a really dope worker. You should hire her." That's the example that
Yeah,
she
that's
used.
what I said.
Again, but that wouldn't be nepotism, because if it's, hey, for example, anytime you use a consultant, right? You do that all the time. That's not nepotism, right? The nepotism is specifically giving favoritism because of some sort of kinship. The person here is not giving favoritism because of kinship. The person is giving.
I see what you're saying.
The person is giving
Yeah, I
favoritism
was
because of a
gonna say that
consultant.
too.
The knowledge,
Fanatic,
knowledge
accepting
of your skill set is because of kinship, but you're saying what's preferential in this is your actual skill set, though.
No,
I
no,
get you.
Gambit, you're
I
onto
can
something.
agree with that.
No, Fanatic, you said it earlier. Remember, you said that
So-
nepotism could be on a scale. So this would be on the lower end scale of nepotism because it's not that
No.
nepotistic.
I think
No,
we're
that's what you
crossing
said
the
earlier.
line.
No, I don't care if I said
I-
that earlier. I'm saying this by definition is not nepotism because it's not doing favoritism based on kinship.
I
But
think
it
we're
is-
crossing
it
the
is-
line
it's-
between
It's 0% on kinship. It's literally
no.
because of a consultant.
No.
You know
It
what-
could
you
be.
know what I
It could be
think that-
because it could be
think
because
Kai's
there
about
could
to
be.
clear something up.
I don't want to argue.
It could
I
be.
think,
It could
I
be.
think we're crossing up
was
nepotism
a-
with networking.
You know what?
Right. That's
There's
so
a
stupid.
difference.
I don't want
was
to do
about-
this. This is dumb.
I was about to say that. 'cause I
There's a
was
They're
lot of
different
there
things,
can
but
be
they can
overlap between
overlap.
those two
That's
things.
what I'm saying. They
How
can
about, like,
overlap.
like I say, if I tell my good friend who has a position,
So-
hey, my son he's a hard worker and he values hard work. Give him a job,
Yeah,
regardless of his,
It'd be like a family member or close
That's
friend.
me
It's
using
basically.
that's networking
Fanatic.
to get him a
Fanatic, what
job.
if the
via
person
nepotism.
given the job can't verify the information?
It'd still be a
Right.
consultant, but it would still be based off of a consultant. It still wouldn't be nepotism. You're going off of a consultant. Half of the time, when you hire a consultant in order to tell you, or like a hiring manager, or you go to a consultant firm, like to look for other applicants. A lot of these things, you're not verifying personally the information. You're just putting stock in the consultant.
Why can't you be yourself? Why can't yourself be a consultant then? Why is that a bad thing?
You can be.
Wait,
con-
what?
You can be, and if that's
Right.
the case, and you can be, and if that's the case, and you're basing it off of some prior knowledge that guarantees that this person is really fit for the job, then again, it's not nepotism because you're not hiring the person because you think that they're because of any personal relationship. You're hiring your person because of your personal experience with the person.
Yeah.
Demonstrates the
so-
person
But
is
why
good.
can't it be
So
both?
let's take
I'm
it back.
just what I'm
Let's
trying
take
to
it to
say.
the movie we're talking
You
about right now.
can be.
You do both, and you're doing nepotism, and you're also being a consultant.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
But
But Kate, she said she's not doing both, so it's not both. It's not nepotism.
But hold on.
Good God, how are we struggling with this?
Let's take this with that to the original example dealing with bees. Let's say that the daughter never came in to do an audition. What if Idris Elba, who we know isn't the producer that's selecting the actors, said that like, oh my God, my daughter would be great for this. How we need someone to play my daughter. Who's gonna have better chemistry with me than my daughter? And is that him being a consultant to the producer? If the producer hires her on spot, do this
No,
work,
that's-
or is
that's
that
not-
nepotism?
Yes,
That's
he
not
would be a
consulting,
consultant.
That's more like prospecting.
No, we're not.
You
I'm
wouldn't
not
say-
putting it that way. Yes, it's absolutely consulting in that situation because guess what? If the other person has the responsibility for making that decision, he networked her in there. He consulted her in there. But ultimately, if he doesn't have the power or the influence to make this thing happen, then that means that it's the other person.
Power.
Well, I
He
mean,
clearly
okay.
influenced.
He has both.
Sure. So I'm sorry. So if he didn't have the power to make this thing happen, if the decision isn't resting on him, then all he did was be a consultant.
But I think it would be crazy to say that like we seen her in her and we said that like, oh, this isn't a product of nepotism. He just told him to do it.
Sure, I would imagine we would probably assume that, but then we could also be wrong. You could look at certain cases where people have literally distanced themselves intentionally from the power because they wanted to make their own name. Look
Right,
at
but
some
I'm
of
saying if that in the situation I'm describing, that's not what happened though. I'm saying like
right. No, well, we
he
don't
didn't-
know. We don't know. You're talking about a hypothetical.
Yes,
Yeah,
I'm talking about
don't tell me about what didn't happen.
But I'm
We're
talking about the hypothetical.
Address the
That's what I'm saying.
hypothetical.
But you said the hypothetical wouldn't be considered nepotism.
No, I'm saying in the hypothetical that you laid out specifically, in which he didn't have the power to hire the person, and he consulted and told the person who had the power, consider this person, and it was still left in the other person's hand, then it wouldn't be nepotism by definition.
I disagree.
Okay, well, you don't know the definition of nepotism. I'm not going to argue with you.
But we use the
the dictionary disagrees with you.
Nepotism is being given the job, though. We say this influence and power and stuff
exactly.
too.
You said
I think that's what he's trying to say.
No, it's when people with influence or power give the job to people that they believe better. That's what the two people that have a kinship. He's not giving the job. He doesn't have the power to do that.
It doesn't have to be a job.
Yeah.
Yes, it gives a position. It doesn't have to be a job. Gives position or whatever.
It says especially.
I'm sorry. No, I'm not. I'm just using the dictionary.
No.
It says especially giving them jobs, but it's not exclusively giving them jobs.
I don't.
This is stupid.
Like, this is not the heart of the matter. It really isn't. It really isn't to argue on these edge cases what is and what isn't. It's like it's not the focus of this. The focus is supposed to be whether it should be happening at all or not, right? Like, so
it should be happening.
It should be okay. All right. I disagree.
Absolutely.
Great. So I disagree with you. I think that when I say that there's no good nepotism, right, and I don't want to go down another fucking definition here, right? Is that this is a system that leads to bad results. Like, eventually it leads to bad. You can find individuals who got their job through nepotism and happen to be really competent, right? For the reasons of nepotism, as like Fanatic laid out. But still, despite the fact they managed to be competent. Great, happy it worked out for you. But this is not a system that we should be promoting. That we want sustained, right? This is something that should be torn down, and it's no better when Black people do it. Now, again, I'm a person who wants to support Black people. I want to support everyone, but I want to support Black people because I know no one else is going to do it for us, right? Absolutely not. So I'm out here. We have this, right? We have all Black everything. But beyond that, like the way I live my life, well, I have a lot of friends who are Black. When I had like more connections than I do now, I use them for them. Like, hey, you know, this person who I know, they have the skills here, right? Like, give them a chance, right? Like, give them an interview. I helped a girl. I remember I was literally interviewing for a job in another city, and I helped a woman who I happened to know. She at the time get that job because I took the interview, but like I heard everything they were describing, and my friend who happened to just accompany me to the job interview and was outside. I'm like, this sounds like her skill set. Hey, would you go and take a look at this lady? And she's like, okay. She's outside. Like, yeah, I'll send her up. And I sent her up, and she ended up getting the job. And I was happy for her, right? It was fantastic. But that was it. That's us, like, making.
You forgot the important part, Prime. You know what you did after that. Right?
I didn't do anything after that. I gave her a high five and I kept it pushing.
Pushing. Okay.
Oh my god. But yeah, I think that's an admirable thing. But nepotism, just hiring people just because they're your kid, it always leads to disasters. It leads to the Trump organization. It leads to the
always.
No, and I'm saying that like it eventually.
So like time. I don't agree though.
No. So I already stated that there are times where people can be in those positions and they can have well, right? They can be competent, but if they engage with nepotism, right? Like literally, like royalty. The idea of royalty in itself is like nepotism to the extreme, right? The next person to take over this kingdom is gonna be my kid because he's my kid. Not because my kid has any special knowledge, not because my kid has proven himself to be a competent leader, but because he's my kid. And so you can have a line of kings who and queens who have done a competent job, but eventually right? And maybe they have multiple kids and selecting among their kids which one would actually be the best, right? But eventually, you're going to have one who gets in a place just because came out of the right vagina and they fuck it all up. That's
Or
literally
we'll
all
have
of history.
Or we have kids who literally outperform their parents because they just take it to the next level, right? Like those kind of things happen. Robert Downey Jr., right? So I don't know.
I admitted that.
Iron Man.
Okay, I got you. So
Right.
right. So
he's saying if you continue it over generations, you're going to eventually find a bad person. I don't necessarily agree with Prime,
Well,
though,
I mean,
but that's what he's trying to say.
I don't
I
necessarily
think that's
agree, but I can
likely.
try to
That's
understand
likely,
the
and it's
point.
possible, but you don't know when it's going to happen. And ultimately, again, if we think that we're in a level playing field, then all nepotism is going to be bad. But as long as we recognize that they rigged the game before we even freaking start to play, the idea that it would be bad for you to recognize this and then favor yourselves so that you have a competing chance because you recognize that there's something rigged against you, I think that makes all the sense in the world. And it's not bad, it's foolish to the contrary to do to the opposite. It is our job to provide the opportunity for our progeny to have every opportunity to succeed. That is our job as parents, to put our children in the best possible chances for success. Unfortunately, with the world the way it is now, they're not going to have the best possible chances for success because the world is rigged against them. So then we, being the intelligent people we are, have to decide then, every opportunity I can give, I will. If you decide to be foolish and be idealistic in a world that's not idealistic and set your children up for failure, you failed your kids. And everyone says, I mean, it's a well-known thing. If you don't plan to succeed, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And so if you don't plan, and planning would mean taking into consideration the powers that be and how much they are working against your children. So if you don't take that into consideration and your children fail, you failed. So in that sense, obviously nepotism would be a good thing.
Fanatic,
You know,
I
I
think
think
we
you also
disagree
don't have
at
to
all
jump
because
You
I think when the thing that you just described is like pretty much aligned with what I said. Because if you're not setting up your child to succeed, you're setting up for failure. I think that's what I think is good nepotism. Is like when you're not setting up your child for failure and you're okay. Like that means that they have a basis to actually that qualifies them enough for the job to actually do that job.
I don't care. I don't care if they have the basis. They might not have the basis.
The reason,
let me give a
sure.
person that has the same failed intelligence as Donald Trump and give him the thing. Because guess what? It's not intelligence that determines success. It's power, wealth, and influence. That's what determines the success. So even if you have a particularly dumb person, a particularly dumb child, but you set him up with all of the power and wealth, that person will still be more wealthy than the average on most cases.
Sure.
Meritocracy is a myth. So then that means stop living in this dream fantasy world where everybody, where you need to check the meritocracy to determine your kid should inherit all of the benefits, and just give your kid what the freak he deserves. Which give your kid the best opportunity to succeed, especially as a black person, which just means giving him all of the opportunity and all the wealth and everything else that you can give him the way white people do. Because white people aren't sitting there checking and be like, I don't know, Elon. I don't think you're really that capable. I don't think so. Barron, I'm not sure. You're looking a little autistic. No, they're not going to do that. What they're going to do is they're just going to give that nigga the job. They're going to hide all of his shortcomings. They're going to give him every opportunity to overcome it, and that's what we should be doing as black people.
And
I wasn't done speaking. You just interrupted. I was trying to say to Fanatic that that isn't what you just, the framework you just laid out isn't necessarily like antithetical to what I'm saying, because what I'm saying is that as long as it's not a net harm to society or to your community,
I don't care if it's a net harm. So it is antithetical because I'm saying I don't care if it's a harm.
Okay.
Just do it.
I'm saying that you don't have to jump to that extreme. I'm saying that even if your kid's like, oh man, my kid probably shouldn't be the CEO, but I can still say, all right, my child's on the board, and like whoever if I make Rick the CEO because maybe he's been with me 20 years and he understands the job better, like my kid better not ever get fired. I don't care what they do. I don't care if you catch them in the bathroom eating chalk. My kid is going to be on this board making $150,000 a year till the day they die. Like and that's still nepotism, even without having to put them in the ultimate power chair where like they have to make all the hard decisions.
Right.
Just
and I'm saying, Fanatic,
and let them eat and live.
Fanatic, the reason I said what I just said right now is because if you are putting your super we're saying like they're gonna do a horrible job, and you know that. The reason I say that is aligns with what I'm saying, because you said you have to set it up for success, and I think putting your child in that position is setting up for failure and is gonna have some long-term like harm effects on that child later. Now, is there cases where they can like learn on the job and stuff like that? Yeah, and I'm okay with that stuff like that.
Well,
So
I
when
hope
you're-
they do. But I'll tell you what, listen, what I'm going to do is you get the power. That's that. And if you failed on your own. I did everything in my power to set you up. And if you failed in that regard, then that means that, yeah, you wasted the opportunity. We see we see white homeless people all the time. What a waste of white skin and that white privilege. Like, they can choose to make bad decisions and then fail. No one's keeping that from them. But that doesn't mean that they didn't have the privilege. It didn't mean that they didn't have an advantage. It doesn't mean they didn't have the complexion for the protection. Some people just wasted away.
Sure.
Wow.
Sure.
Mic drop moment there. Holy shit. Oh, goddamn.
Clip that
what
one.
I said.
Clip that.
Your pride doesn't know what to say.
I don't even know what to say after that one. Goddamn. Spill my breath with it out. Okay. Yeah. I
To my audience.
It's over now. It's over. Like, you gotta end on that note.
Fine.
You gotta
right
end.
Fine. Then to my audience, we are going to continue to an open walk-on panel right after this. But before then, we're going to give an outro to all these great individuals, but the content does not end. No need to go anywhere. The content doesn't end, so stick around. I'm just going to give an outro to these great people. And we'll continue on having more. We'll have another panel where you sing at home and participate. So stick around for that. Oh, and if you've been enjoying the conversation so far, hit that follow button. Make sure notifications are on so you know I'm going live. It is 6 days a week. Don't want you to miss out. Social and chat. Where we have our social media listed, right? So it's up on Twitter, Discord. We have everything, right? Including open welcome panels can happen there, right? All our conversations happen on Discord. We'd love to join. Hit us up on TikTok and YouTube. Like, comment, and subscribe. That part's important. Lila Water Kai, thank you for gifting a sub. Hey, thank you for giving a sub. 5 subs in total. I want an amazing Dr. K, a good friend of Fanatic. All right, so we will continue on. So shout out to Water Kai for the help. All right, so I'm gonna give an exit to all these great individuals. So start and my man, Bam, thanks for coming through. Right, you do great. Like, I can recommend you if someone was going to pay you to come on the panel, I would recommend my man Bam.
I appreciate it. I want all that. I want, even if I'm not good enough, give it to me anyways, because I deserve it. Being black is hard. Yeah, no. Actually, let me get my grade today, Fanatic. What did you give me my grade for the day? You let me off mute. What'd you say?
I don't remember. I'm sorry. I wasn't paying attention. I probably tuned you out. I'm sorry.
All right, well that works for me. Even better. Even better. Let me get my stuff off. But no, overall, I think this was a much better panel. I think you had people who had some sense. Jay Cooks came in and just blessed the panel with a little bit of common sense today, because oh my God, sometimes y'all be off. But no, I think this was 2 really, really interesting conversations. I believe we, for the most part, didn't get stuck in like the surface of the weeds. We got to go in this conversation a little bit. So I'm happy. I get to go to bed happy tonight.
This is what does it. Not being next to your beautiful girlfriend. It's like
yeah, overrated. Relationships are long. Oh my God, it's a long relationship.
Okay.
I'm
All
just
right.
kidding, I love her.
We're just we're all gonna have to hold that for tonight. All right. So let's go with my man D10 Dream. I'm always happy to have you around, Hateem. Hateem, you tend to be the focus of all our panels. You have a way about you. But thank you, Dream, for coming through.
Thank you for having me. I love being here, and I have very strong and very logically sound positions. So, of course, it would be to focus a lot of the time. But yeah, I think we really dove deep today, and I really enjoyed that. We explored different avenues. Whoa, who left? We just explored different avenues of the conversation. I really enjoyed that, and just want to reiterate that parents should be well informed about the decisions their child is, or about the decisions for their child in school. They should be well informed. If you don't inform them, you can be liable for some repercussions. And secondly, if you have a child and they have a working brain and they can learn on the job, it's okay to hire them. And if they're, as long as they don't do a horrible job, it's okay to hire them. Nepotism is not inherently bad. It's just how you use it. It's like a knife. You can cut onions with it, but stab somebody with it, that's bad. So,
All right,
and I love, stuff to Prime.
Our friend D1O Dream put his money where his mouth is. D1O Dream resubbing for 7 months with Prime Gaming. Thank you for that. Thank you for using your one free sub per month here on this community. It actually does mean a lot. Thank you so much. And our friend Jay Cooks is helping out by gifting a sub to at Baya. Thank you for doing that. Much appreciated. 14 subs total, Jay Cook. A supporter here. Hey, everything a little bit helps because of those three individuals, right? Jay Cook, D10 Dream, and Lee the Water Kai, everyone on the panel here, right? We are at 50% of a level 1 hype train. 50% down, 50% left. Can we get to a level 2 hype train? 3.5 minutes on the clock, right? We have more people on the panel, I'm just saying. More people exist. Yes, something to think about.
I want to shout out my girlfriend Jade. Thank you for being here, and you had some great points. I love you, Jade.
Well, we all love Jade. Okay. Hey, and we love GSU Gamut for using the Prime Gaming and resubbing for 21 months. Thank you, my man, for the kind assistance. It actually does is a huge help. We're at 67% of a level 1 hype train. 23% left. Can we get to a level 2 hype train? Sub to the channel, give bits or give subs, resubs, all that good stuff. It helps. It adds up, as you can see. Right, we're almost level 2. Let's see if we can make that happen. Sub to the channel, give bits or get subs. 2.5 minutes at the clock. So since we all love Jade, let's visit Jade next. All right, Jade. Thank you for coming through. Look, we're always looking for new people. And we're really happy to have you. Really happy to have your voice here. So thank you for taking time out of your night, where you could be doing other things, and joining us.
Thank you for having me again. You keep inviting me, so I must be giving some good input. So.
Thank you. And we do. We do value. So thank you so much. Thank you for the 100 bits anonymous cheer. We're at 70%. Slowly inching our way there. 30% left. Make it off the hype train. So close. Subs to the channel, get bits or give subs. All right. Next we have Pace. Pace, thank you for your kindness as to for coming through and joining us as well. Pace, love to know about yourself.
Oh, thank you for having me on today. It's a pretty, as I said earlier, pretty fairly nice and chill topics. However, as usual, Fanatic and Bob Marley never failed to impress. And but I will say, I this is a topic that I talk about quite often because it's one that's important. Intergenerational wealth within the Black community. Nepotism or the lack thereof is not the problem. The problem that we have is what I call the intergenerational reset, which is our inability or refusal to teach uh, proper intergenerational practices within our community. It seems like we always have our children start from ground zero when we should be setting them up in positions where they will start where we left off and continue building a better blueprint. And so I think this conversation, though it's about nepotism, will help the conversation about intergenerational wealth within the Black community. And so I'm always looking forward to have that conversation. But you guys
Life
can
insurance.
always, yeah, life insurance. Yeah, that
And one second,
that's what got me.
while we're talking about building intergenerational wealth, hey guys, how about the hype train? Save the hype train. 50% left, less than 30 seconds on the clock. The save help me bring like have intergenerational wealth. Pass it on to my progeny. Okay, all right. It's a possibility. Need your help. Make it happen. Seconds left on the clock. Let's see if we get to a level 2 hype train. Sub to channel, give bits, or give subs. Support this channel. If you like what we're doing, you missed it. But if anyone can, you can still assist us outside of a hype train. Support this community. Like if you like getting this content all the time, and we're always here. We really never skip a day. If you like getting this content, then support this channel. You can support it in or outside of a hype train. You get the emotes inside the hype train, but we'll take it any which way. Support this community. Sorry for interrupting you, DeAndre.
Oh, it's no problem. I was almost done, but I gotta say, the life insurance thing, it's what got me started into the whole business of making sure that we get that number, because that is very important. Black people don't understand life insurance. They think it's burial insurance, and it's completely two different things. But if you like what I have to say, you can always find me any day of the week at the Story of America. We'll pay some Williams Story of America PW. We're on every platform that you can think of: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Your Sister's Ash, The Pony Express, wherever you can find us, we're there.
All right. Next, Pony Express. Nearly missed that one. Let's go to our friend Jake Cook. Jake Cook, thank you for jumping in, being a part of all this. Jake Cook. We're so happy. We missed you. Like we honestly miss your smiling face, right? And your like sarcastic expressions and when you're reacting to things. But seriously, we're happy to have you back. Hope to see you again in the coming weeks.
Yeah, it's a lot of life things have been going on, so that's why I've been away. But if you guys want to follow me, because I'm also back streaming now, you can follow me on Twitch or Twitter at jcooksnada. And yeah, this was a great topic. Thank you, Gambit, for it. I think I'm always going to support everyone who's Black, so that's pretty much it.
Thank you.
I love that, Issa Rae.
Exactly. Yep.
Let's go to Alila Waterkai. Thank you for stopping by, joining in. We've been happy to have you for these past few weeks. We're always looking for new people, and you've been filling in, and we've been appreciative. So thanks so much. And as soon as you unmute, I'm sure whatever you're saying is beautiful and heartfelt.
Always glad to be here, and you can find me in your greater Discord rooms, and yeah, always glad to have a conversation.
Thank you. All right. Next we go to Fanatic. It actually wasn't too bad this time, right? You're actually relatively chill. This time around. You weren't.
He didn't do the Fanatic.
He didn't do the repeating thing, right? Like,
yeah, that was
so
new.
It must have been a good day, right?
Yeah, it was a great day.
Yeah, it just means everybody's learning. When I'm finishing my point, shut the hell up. Anyway, listen, I love this panel. I love talking to Black people, always. I think this panel is my favorite. Because like other time when we're like in the other panel, like I gotta waste my time talking to Smarticus or Fabian the idiot Scott, and just like all those random idiots that they just don't have good thoughts, and it's just a waste of time. And I have to argue basic stuff like the Civil Rights Act was good. It's crazy as freak. So I think like talking to other Black people where at least we just know from the very basics, like from the onset, we're gonna get like some common sense, right? Most of the time, but then I'm not gonna take no shots. I'm not gonna take no shots.
Let's end on a good note. Let's end on a good note.
On a positive time. I enjoy talking to y'all, even if I get frustrated and my temper gets short. I hate having to argue definitions. Like, we know what the freaking words mean. Like, just Google it and then use the dang word and find another word if you want to use it, want to talk about something else. But ultimately, this was good. Good conversations. I appreciate y'all. Twitch.tv/Mr. Fanatic. Y'all niggas can find me there. If you ever disagree with any of my takes, you can go ahead and argue with me there. I think I'm better in one-on-one situations than I am on panels, because in one-on-one situation, I expect to be able to finish my points and not be interrupted, and my points to actually be addressed. check out my latest video where I debated Lauren Southern, and I'll be uploading a conversation I had with Hayat Vadim, the guy who made the video that like literally informed me for me to go ahead and destroy Lauren Southern in that conversation. We have been floating around the idea of bringing Lauren Southern on to the All Black Everything so we can discuss the harm that she's done to the Black community. So anybody who's in favor of Lauren Southern getting all blacked, I think it'd be just consider it, and we'll discuss that.
You know what? Let's actually do this now. I actually was gonna bring this up to our friend GSU because he wasn't here for that. So let's do this right now. Like, you guys are the community, right? Like, I don't have like a massive reach. Like, the people you see here, right, and a few others are the people who make up this panel. Right? We would love to have more voices, but this is what we got, right? And if I betray you guys, well, then this panel ends. If you guys don't want to come on here anymore, then that's it. So I'm gonna ask you, as a community, right? Would you like to bring on Lauren Southern? I
will curse her out, so I'm gonna excuse myself.
I don't know who that is.
She's probably one of the dumbest people I've ever seen.
I think if she cuts a promo,
she's not dumb.
She's
stupid, like actually retarded. Like,
no, she's not dumb, but
she's really stupid.
She has some problem meditation. She's not dumb, but if she cuts a promo that says, hey guys, next Thursday you're gonna get blacked on Prime, we can consider it. We can strongly consider it. Yeah, for sure.
It's a high bar.
We need that promo though. We need that promo.
High bar.
If I did this, even if it wasn't like it's probably it'd be a smaller panel anyway. It wouldn't be like 9 people. But if I did this, you guys wouldn't be like super upset at me, and say like I betrayed the spirit of the panel or whatever, right? I'm honestly asking you this. Like, this is my honest ask. Like, what do you guys think?
I think it's your show, and you should enact a nepotism on what you want on it.
I would say, look, as long as the Black people there are interested, and we make the topics Black centric, and we focus on maybe some of the harm that she's caused to the Black community. I don't know, Buffalo, New York, and stuff like that.
Right.
Great replacement ideas and stuff. If we were going to be doing those things, then I think it's perfectly fine for her to be blacked in that way.
Yeah, if we're gonna cut the promo saying that she's gonna be black, then we have like Waterkai and Andre and Dream. I'm sorry, you got to be left out, but
surrounded by black men. No, I love it.
Just that her particular views actually happen to harm the Black community, whether she wants it to or not, and that's why she should have a chance to be in front of the tribunal.
The tribunal. Oh boy.
I don't know. I can't. I'm not sure.
I don't know. Wait, I wasn't taking a shot at Dream. I was saying because Jade is here. Like, he can't be.
Jade's got.
She wouldn't be blacked by Dream. You're right.
Yeah. Like he's a good boy, right? Like, we're the degenerates out here, right? So,
you were saying because I'm light skinned. That's what
I take offense
no.
Only
I'm not a colorist, bro.
So okay,
I'm too knowledgeable.
Fuck. Oh man. People got real mad at me when I made the all white everything panel. Like,
me too.
Wait, it was a real thing?
Yeah,
I like it.
Yeah.
So how come you be on it?
I like it.
Well, I mean, it was
because you're still on it, right?
Yeah. The thing I didn't like about it was, one of them niggas on there was a snake, but that was all.
Yeah, we did. We got some snakes. That's kind of what happened. That's the thing that happened.
Everything gonna make me feel like I was back in
Nick Fuentes on that all day.
So I'll look. I can't guarantee anything, so I'll reach out. I'll see what she says.
But the condition, she does have to say that she's going to be blacked on Prime, right?
Yeah, for sure. We need that.
I'd rather have the conversation.
There's no way she's doing that. Just FYI.
Ain't no way.
But it would be dope. You could use that promo in a lot of ways, man.
All right. We could. All right. Okay. I'm gonna hit you guys up in some DMs. We'll talk about it, right? And I'll make a reach. I have open DMs of her and friendly DMs, so we'll see. Okay. So next we'll finally go to my man GSU Gavit. I got him all excited, all hot and bothered. Cheers to you.
Having too much fun.
Thanks so much, seriously, for coming through. I know you're an extremely busy guy, but you like still he's doing stuff throughout the day. He sees a news story, he sends it my way, right? He's like, even if I'm not gonna be on here, I want to help out the community, and like give you a topic because he knows how hard these goddamn topics are. So he gave me a leg up there. Thank you, seriously, thank you for that.
Always, my brother. I'm rooting for everybody black. As I can't remember who said that. It was a dope
Dude,
quote.
wow. Imagine not remembering what the only one of the black women not saying on this panel said.
Wait, you said that? No, you
I
didn't.
just
You
said
said a
that.
different quote. You said a different quote. No,
No, I just said that.
No,
He
say
said
that. Say
that.
what you just said, Gambit. Say what you said.
He
Because I
said
I'm
remember.
rooting for everybody black. That's
Yeah,
a
she
different quote.
That's
than
what I
that's a-
just said.
You didn't say that. Jacob,
No, you
said
didn't.
something.
No, you didn't. You
didn't
said
say
the
that.
other one. I can't remember
It's
who
a
said
Ray
the one
said
that you
that.
said.
It's a Ray said that.
Yeah, the one I said was
You
said by
said
a
something
black guy.
very similar to it, but it wasn't the exact quote.
Yeah, it was different. Different.
So don't try to.
That's what- I heard it.
No, you heard something very similar.
Yeah.
We can replay it.
Uh-oh.
I'll bet $1,000 on it, Jay. Go ahead, bet on it.
I believe black women.
Don't
I believe
mansplain.
black women, right? So I believe the black women's voice.
Bet on it, Prime.
It-
You believe it so
it's-
much? Bet on it.
I'm betting on
Prime is
Jade.
gonna
Why
kill
aren't
this
you betting on
relationship.
Jade?
I-
Huh?
listen,
I'm
Prime
out
is
here betting on
betting
her.
Thunder
I don't
Wars.
have perfect
Bet
memory, but
$1,000.
she said it. I'm telling you right now, she said it.
No, she didn't. She
How?
did. She said a different one.
Prime
Because
is
I was like,
$1,000.
paradise.
that one
Put
before.
your money
When she
where your
said-
mouth is.
I can't remember what she said, but I said, "Yo, I've never heard that one before." But no, you didn't. You didn't say it. It was a black guy who said that.
my memory. I
Okay.
definitely
I
never heard
remember
her.
the black guy who said
We
it.
can
though.
bet
I
on
gotta-
it.
No, early on the panel today, I literally heard those words.
In
come
her
out of her mouth.
closing,
She did
she
not
said-
say those
She
words,
said a
bro.
quote in her closing.
Wow.
That's what
It's
I'm
fine.
talking about.
She said like maybe 2 words different. Very similar to the quote, but it's not the exact quote that Gambit said.
Oh, okay, maybe not.
Amber
word for
wasn't
word,
here
but she
for
said,
most
I'm
of
rooting,
this.
I'm rooting for all black people, maybe, but I thought she said I'm rooting for everybody black.
That's what
She
I
didn't
said,
say the
but
words,
it's fine.
I am rooting for everybody black. That was very,
Yeah,
that is,
she did.
that is a quote of Issa Rae that is so similar to Jay Cook that I was like,
I don't
hey,
even know
okay, Issa Rae. That's what I said to Jay Cook because he said something so similar. But I get the reference, but it's not exactly what Issa Rae
Oh
said.
my god.
Okay.
We will
What she said.
come
I'm going back to watch the pod right now.
In closing, I think everybody should go watch J. Cook. She watches hentai on stream.
No way.
What?
Go watch.
You
Y'all go
actually
watch-
do that?
No, I don't. It's literally a running joke that he always says. Only for
But-
me.
But yeah, y'all go follow Cook. And no, this was dope, Prime. I'm happy when I can make it. Sorry I couldn't make the first topic, but yeah, this was dope. Shout out to everybody.
Yeah, and this is why I love this panel. Like, we will argue about literally fucking everything, even up to the last second. We out here coming at people. It is what it is. But anyway, yeah, I really appreciate every single one of you, all of you. So thank you for coming through. We're gonna have an open welcome on panel right after this. Anyone here is welcome to join us, but if not, that's okay. They're spending your time, your energy, your knowledge, and your passion. My community, so they appreciate you. Have a good one. Bye.
Bye.
Peace.
Yo.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Hold on. I'm gonna be on screen in a second.